favoritism? Is this going by the letter of the law? Because the boxing, there technically is the letter of the law. Things get made up all the time.
This idea, Paulie, that VADA did the testing, but the WBC says he's not guilty. Why? They didn't do the testing. What's your thought?
Well, the first thing that strikes to me is the early in the testing window, like the champ Chris said, and early in the testing window means that it may not have cleared his system the way he intended it to clear. He may have obviously been, it may be very obvious that he was doing this, trying to, do it in a way where by the time the testing started, he would be free and clear and he would get the benefits during training camp. Again, low dose found in his system, very similar to Ryan Garcia, very similar to the situation where, again, you're just mistiming the clearing in your system. The not found in nature argument that the champ Chris makes is a very good argument, because now you have, even no matter what dose you find in your system, it's how's it getting there? You're obviously doing something, and you're looking to get benefits from something, from what that would seem. I was, in the previous argument, a bit siding with WBC, trying to be in the middle here, with the Terrence Crawford argument, because I think there is a place for sanctioning bodies.
Facts. Nunes Rivera, facts. Matias' team has to sue. These two haters keep on spreading false narratives, lies. Yeah, you're right.
Matias killed Maxim Dadashev in the ring a couple of years ago. Okay, left a 3-year-old girl.
They're over the top with their comments, man. They're over the top. They need to be sued.
And left
very extreme, man, what they're saying. They're haters. Paul Malignaggi and Chris Algieri need to be sued. And Mike Coppinger. Tony also knows boxing. Subscribe to the channel.
I don't care what dosage it is. This.
Check out what Lamont Roach said. Didn't mention Subriel Matias' name.
Think ahead of time. So what do you want to do? Where do you see the next couple of years? Where do you want to be?
I want to be a multi-division world champion. Hopefully, after I beat Pitbull, we go straight into the WBC full world championship fight. If not, I'm gonna go back to 35 and challenge a title holder who's willing to fight me.
He says the full WBC, but he doesn't say Subriel Matias' name. I guess he don't want to give him promotion. I understand he don't want to give him promotion, but come on, you want to fight Subriel Matias, just say his name loud and clear. So Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Subscribe to the channel. You saw what the heading said, and we there's so much to talk about right now. And you saw the introduction of my video. There's a lot of controversy and a lot of smear campaign, and we need to make sure that we keep supporting Subriel Matias. And he's innocent and he's not guilty, and it's not only the WBC that said he wasn't guilty. The New York State Athletic Commission first declared Subriel Matias not guilty because there wasn't even 1% manogram of ostarine in his urine. So, he's definitely innocent, already exonerated by the New York State Athletic Commission, which allows boxers to have 1% manogram, but Subriel Matias was under the amount. It was a very minuscule amount, and it was 0.85, not even 1 manogram, and it was he was actually exonerated, and it wasn't the WBC that determined that, like Paul Malignaggi falsely said, and just in his smear campaign with Chris Algieri. And I just think that it's really dishonorable what they're doing. They're basically creating a smear campaign to bring Subriel Matias down, and they want to stop him at all costs, and they'll do anything, and they'll actually definitely say things that are not true about Subriel Matias, and call him a murderer, and actually highlight all the negative stuff that was not even his fault. Like, whatever happened with Dadashev, it was not Subriel Matias' fault. He already had a pre-existing condition before he stepped in the ring with Subriel Matias, and the doctors allowed him to fight with those conditions, and that had nothing to do with Subriel Matias. It just, when he got in the ring with Subriel Matias, unfortunately, he lost his life, but the referee should have stopped the fight sooner than he did, because he was taking a lot of punishment way before the end of the fight. And I just feel that Chris Algieri and Paul Malignaggi are just natural born haters when it comes to Subriel Matias, and they're just continuing the smear campaign of the mainstream, and they don't want Subriel Matias to shine and do great, and because he's independent, he's with a independent boxing promotion from Puerto Rico, Fresh Production Boxing, and the mainstream and all those people speaking going against Subriel Matias, they're just continuing the negative narrative because the mainstream never wanted Subriel Matias to be in the position that he's in independently with a Puerto Rican boxing promotion that outbidded Eddie Hearn's Matchroom, an elite company. And this is just a continuation of the false narrative and the mainstream wanting to bring Subriel Matias down, and they don't want a Puerto Rican boxer, especially a Afro-Boricua Puerto Rican, from Puerto Rico. They definitely want to bring him down, and they don't want to promote him the way they promote the other boxers in the mainstream, Alexander Zayas. But at the end of the day, when you do things independently, a lot of people are going to come at you from different angles, and that's what's going on with Subriel Matias. Lourdes Rivera 9913. Mediocre fighters just jealous of Subriel. Subriel is the champion. They need to get over it. Facts. And thanks for tuning into my channel. Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. And basically the WBC already said that he's innocent, and that it wasn't sufficient amount of asterine, and it was considered contamination because it's unknowingly. It happened unknowingly, and that could happen because when you take supplements, a lot of times you take something and it might have some asterine in it, but I think he's gonna do his due diligence now, Subriel Matias, and make sure that they don't do that again unknowingly, and he's gonna be more aware of it. And if he would have had a significant amount of asterine, then it would have been considered cheating. Because yes, I'm having technical difficulties right there. But yeah, if Subriel Matias would have had a significant amount of manogram, where it actually it's a lot, then that he was actually cheating. But the fact that he had a so minuscule amount is basically contamination, and those things can happen in boxing. And I just feel like a lot of the people trying to create controversy over this, they're just trying to actually get a lot of people to go on their channels and argue with them, and they just want to create controversy just to get more clickbait. But at the end of the day, Subriel Matias is innocent, and he's gonna go under rigorous VADA testing for a whole year. He's gonna be like on probation, but not because he's guilty, because they already said it. WBC already said he's innocent. They're doing that because just to have more preventative measures and not lead people astray with the wrong information. They're gonna treat cases like this with minuscule manogram of asterine like it. They're not gonna treat it the same way they treat boxers that actually come with have a lot of asterine in their urine. They're gonna treat cases like the one that Subriel Matias had, differently, and to avoid all this misleading people into thinking that he was a dirty fighter when he wasn't. And it wasn't the WBC that determined that Subriel Matias is a clean fighter, and it was actually the New York State Athletic Commission, Paulie Malignaggi. So get your due diligence, research, information up to par before you speak up like that. And Chris Algieri, all these guys are just talking about controversial things, just to get people upset and people just to be relevant. When these boxers weren't really that good when they were in the boxing scene, when in their careers, they didn't have a great boxing career. So they're just gonna talk bad about Subriel Matias because they're envious of him, and he's more accomplished than Chris Algieri and Paul Malignaggi. So these guys need to stop smear campaigning against Subriel Matias, and I believe that Subriel Matias should sue. He should sue these people. He should sue Paul Malignaggi. He should sue Chris Algieri and Mike Coppinger. Anyone who did a smear campaign against him. This is a serious allegation that they continue to insist when they don't know more than VADA, and they don't know more than the New York State Athletic Commission. So they're not the authority. Chris Algieri and Paul Malignaggi and Mike Coppinger, they are not the authority. They're not. They don't know more than VADA and the New York State Athletic Commission, which allows boxers to go in the ring with 1% manogram of aspirin. And Subriel Matias had way below the amount, 0.85, not even 1% manogram. So he's a innocent and he's a clean fighter. In his 10-year career, he never did anything illegal. And Puerto Ricans in general have not been convicted of any illegal performance enhancement drugs in boxing. There's no boxer that's been convicted of that. No Puerto Rican. Only Mexicans. I'm not knocking the Mexicans, but I'm saying they have been convicted of that with Reynoso, with Eddie Reynoso and his team. They have been convicted of using illegal performance enhancement drugs to perform better in the ring. But no Puerto Rican has ever been convicted of that. We are clean. We're clean fighters. For the majority, all of us are clean. And okay, let me read the comments over here. Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. Algieri, Paulie, keep on comparando to Ryan. No se puede comparar. You can't compare to Ryan. Ryan came out with a lot of aspirin in his system, in his urine. So they cannot compare. You're right, Lulis Rivera 9913. Thanks for tuning into my channel. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. Let me read this other comment. Eugenio Rodriguez says, Subriel Matias thing, it wasn't even to put it out there because it was contamination, but Janibek tested positive and he got tested November 15th. Since then, they know Janibek was positive and stay quiet. They don't talk about Janibek. Of course, they're not going to talk about it because, when they tested Subriel Matias within a 7-day span, they checked him again and he came out negative. So they just didn't put all the information out in the news. They wanted to talk about the controversy. They wanted to spin the narrative like Subriel Matias was dirty from the beginning. They didn't want to give all the information that he already that he was going to be negative with. But actually they tested him. They already had the results. They had the results. They were waiting on the results from the test, but they already did the results. But the media and nobody was up to date with the recent information because they didn't bring out the results. But the results were already set in because they already tested him after they tested him in Puerto Rico, which he tested positive in Puerto Rico. They already had tested him when he had that press conference with Dalton Smith, and that the Dalton Smith press conference in Brooklyn. I'm back. When they did the test again in a 7-day span, they did it in Brooklyn Barclays Center, and that's when they had the press conference with Dalton Smith and Subriel Matias. And right there, right after they finished the press conference, they had the second test, which were the recent ones that we found out about recently that they turned out negative. Subriel Matias was exonerated, so they didn't disclose the information like right away. But the people like Mike Coppinger, they just ran with with the narrative of promoting Subriel Matias as a dirty fighter, and all these outlets, Pro Box TV, with this guy Paulie Malignaggi and Chris Algieri, they're all against Subriel Matias, and they all wanted to spin the narrative in a negative way. And Turki Al-Sheikh and I'm not saying Turki Al-Sheikh per se, but I'm saying like Eddie Hearns. They all wanted to make it seem like Subriel Matias was a dirty fighter because they were so upset and butthurt that a Puerto Rican boxing promotion like Fresh Production Boxing actually outbidded Eddie Hearns' Matchroom. And anytime that a big company gets humiliated like that by a Puerto Rican boxing company like Fresh Production Boxing, it hurts their ego. And they actually are connected with mainstream media outlets, and they actually do things behind the scenes to make like Fresh Production Boxing boxers like Subriel Matias from Puerto Rico look like they're actually cheaters and make them look bad, like mess up their image, so that way they could try to get what they want out of it and probably get a replacement so it make an easier fight for Dalton Smith. And they were probably trying to do that because that's what it seemed like. But Subriel Matias proved everybody wrong, all the haters, all the people against Subriel Matias. They're gonna make Dalton Smith get a bigger beating. It's gonna be a huge beating even worse because now they put Subriel Matias in a position where he's actually going to even rise to the occasion even more and actually obliterate and destroy Dalton Smith. Trust me, he's better when he's under pressure. He is better when he's under pressure. All right. Let me see. Lourdes Rivera. Eugenio Facts. Lourdes Rivera. Listen, if Dalton doesn't want to fight, he should just say it. He just wants an easy opportunity. And I believe he don't even deserve to be in the position that he's in. Because Subriel Matias, as soon as he finished beating Alberto Puello, we saw Dalton Smith go in the ring in the post-fight interview, and nobody even knew who Dalton Smith was. And that was like a big ironic surprise. Like nobody expected that. We expected something different. Like, a rematch with Alberto Puello or one of the top fighters like Teofimolopez, who I think is overrated, and he's going to lose to Shakur Stevenson. Big time. And they didn't mention that. They all of a sudden, an unknown, ranked #1 contender for the WBC goes in the ring in the post-fight, and we don't even know who he is. And the only reason why he gets this fight with Subriel Matias is because he has a great promoter or a somewhat great promoter in Eddie Hearn's Matchroom, but he didn't really deserve to get that fight. Who did he actually beat to actually deserve to fight Subriel Matias for the championship? He didn't fight nobody like Subriel Matias, so we know what Subriel Matias is going to do. He's going to prove to everybody that he's a clean fighter, and he's going to show everybody that when you undermine a fighter like Subriel Matias and you try to accuse him of things that he is not guilty of, all these clowns like Chris Algieri, Paul Malignaggi, Michael Coppinger, they're going to eat crow. They're going to suffer, and Eddie Hearns as well. And this is going to be a triple victory for us because Eddie Hearns was against him. Turki Al-Sheikh was against Subriel Matias. All the media, Chris Algieri, everything, everybody. So then the promotion from Puerto Rico actually winning and outbidding Eddie Hearns' Matchroom is like a super huge moral for us, because Puerto Ricans have the opportunity to actually be independent and promote independently and be successful and be a big players in the boxing industry. So I feel like this is showing what we're made of, and that's the reason why Subriel Matias is getting attacked so hard, because Puerto Rico is actually shining in a good way now. They're accomplishing things that were never done before. A huge victory against Matchroom. They Fresh Production Boxing won, and this is great. This is great news for Puerto Rican boxing as a whole. It gives opportunities to the local prospects as well from Puerto Rico, so that's going to be great. And let me read the comments. Lourdes Rivera 9913. Listen, if Dalton, I already read that. Thanks for tuning into the channel, Lourdes Rivera 9913. Guitar, guns, cars, boxing. All this so-called champions at the 140 been ducking Matias for the last 2.5 years, and now will use the Austrian to keep ducking the boogeyman at 140, and the hardest fight for anyone at 140. Those are fags, brother. I appreciate that comment. Guitar, guns, cars, boxing. Thanks for tuning into my channel. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Yes, man, I appreciate your comment. And, subscribe to the channel and make sure that you click the like button and share the information with everybody. I appreciate everybody tuning in, all my new fans and all my regulars that are here on a regular basis, like Lourdes Rivera 9913. I've seen you before. Guitars, guns, cars, boxing. I believe this is the first time you see my boxing channel. Let me know if this is your first time. Eugenio Rodriguez, man, thanks for tuning into my channel, my brother. I appreciate your comments, and I agree with Guitar, Guns, Cars, Boxing. They're just looking for excuses to avoid Subriel Matias, and the accusations of Austrian is just another way that they could circumvent getting in the ring with Subriel Matias. They don't want to get in the ring with Subriel Matias because now that he has his own promotional boxing from Puerto Rico, now he could do what he wants, and there'll be no shenanigans behind the scenes with other promoters to actually make side deals with him to lose, so he could get his own pay-per-view, which that's what Eddie Hearns did when he fought Lamont. They made a side deal where Subriel Matias would have to lose because he's with the smaller promotion, and they will give him the platform Fresh Production Boxing to actually have their own pay-per-view with Subriel Matias, and that was the deal that they made. As long as Matias agreed with Eddie Hearn's Matchroom to lose against Lamont. If you look at the interviews with Subriel Matias, he alluded to that. So watch one of his previous interviews, and now they can't do that because now Fresh Production Boxing has established themselves as a powerhouse in the boxing industry in Puerto Rico and outside of Puerto Rico. So that actually helps to prevent situations like that where Eddie Hearns can't blackmail Subriel Matias to do side deals because now they're more established and they can do more. They have more leverage, so they can't do those things anymore. All right, let me read the comment. Guitar, Guns, Cars, Boxing, number 2. No. Also, you've been on my channel before. Thanks for tuning in again, my brother. I appreciate you. Subscribe to the channel. LT816 says, without bias, does Gary get whooped by Matias? Would you say Gary is scared of Matias? No, I don't think Gary's scared of Matias. He's bold, and they actually had a one-on-one with each other in a face-off like they did behind the scenes in a boxing event. And I believe that fight is incredible. I don't know who would win that fight because Gary Antoine Russell, he's got power, but he also has boxing skills. But I believe that's a 50-50 fight. And, I wouldn't sleep on Subriel Matias and I wouldn't sleep on Gary Antoine Russell. That's a really competitive 50-50 fight. I would love to see that fight. I'm not going to be biased. I'm always going to be real. And, okay, Guitar, Guns, Car, Boxing says, LTB A16, no one is scared, but they know what comes with fighting Matias during and after the fight. Yeah, it's true. It's true. They know what it is, but they want, it's all a business, and it's all a business. And let me read the other comments. Lourdes Rivera, 9913, I wonder whose narrative the fight, because Sergio Mora is another hater. Subriel can't catch a break. Yeah, Sergio Mora is definitely a hater. He only focused on the negative aspects when they talked about when the news came out about Subriel Matias testing positive. He only mentioned negative things like Subriel Matias since he lost to Lamont, his career has been going downhill. Now he gets tested positive for Ostarine. He said negative things like that when that's not the case. He should have did his due diligence and research that Subriel Matias is a clean fighter, and he turned out to be negative and exonerated by the New York State Athletic Commission and the WBC. So he spoke too soon. He was just part of the mainstream, and that's the narrative that he had to continue, probably, most likely. So LT816, number 3, good answer, Tony. Thanks for not being biased. Nah, I'm gonna keep it real. I'm not gonna be biased. Lourdes Rivera, 9913, I meant narrating. I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be on the Zone. I'm not sure. I think it's going to be on the Zone, and it's gonna be in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. So he might be narrating, maybe. Let me see. Guitar, Guns, Car, Boxing. It was Hitchens, the one that did the face-off with Matias. Yeah. Hitchens did the face-off with Matias, but Matias also did a face-off with Gary Antoine Russell too. He also did a face-off with him. You should check that out. It's on YouTube, and he did a face-off with everybody he could possibly get a face-off with Subriel Matias on the same day, like to show everybody that he was ready. He was ready for that smoke. So nobody's scared. I just think that they're scared of losing. Fighters, more 9 times out of 10, they're not scared because they get in the ring, and they're just scared of losing. It's all about business, to keep making the most money possible without losing. So that's really what it is. Let me see. Guilty, Guns, Cars, Boxing. I hope Matias' team sue all these commentators, boxing, etc. Yes, I hope so. I hope so too. Subriel Matias y Durango, espero que ustedes demanden a toda la gente que estaban hablando sucio y cosas falsas de ustedes, diciendo que Subriel Matias es un boxeador sucio y no, él no es sucio. Sí, tú tienes que demandar a esa gente y de toda esa gente que hablaron negativo de Subriel Matias, Chris Algieri, Paul Malignaggi, Mike Coppinger. hay que demandar a esa gente porque están hablando cosas innecesarias y cosas falsas de Subriel Matias. Subriel Matias es un boxeador limpio. So subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. I had to tell him in Spanish that that Subriel Matias and his team should sue all the people that created a smear campaign against Subriel Matias. All the people that got money, not the broke people like Punch Drunk and Vic Season. Now, Vic Season didn't say nothing bad, but he's just jumping on the bandwagon of everything. You know, he's not really a boxing content creator the way he should be. He focuses on different things and just to get clickbait. But you got to be genuine with your fans and keep it thorough with boxing for your fans. Don't be all over the place, sloppy Joe and different content that has nothing to do with boxing just because you want streams, you know, just because you want people to stream your channel and never. LTB, I've been looking for other races that are not biased. I'm subscribing to you. Thank you, my brother. LTA16, thank you, my brother. Everybody that subscribes and tunes into my channel is a warrior, and people that want to be more informed, that are intelligent, that want to know more, and they're tired of the biased boxing content creators that are just doing clickbait as well, and they want more quality and value for their time. And that's what I'm doing with Tony Also Knows Boxing. Subscribe to that channel. Tony Also Knows Boxing. You're tuning into my channel. So yeah, man, I appreciate you subscribing to my channel. I'm trying to accomplish 1,000 subscribers. I'm going to get it before the end of the year or after. I want to accomplish 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. And I'm going to do a countdown to Puerto Rico, and hopefully I can get the interviews with the boxers over there that I've interviewed already. You can check out on my channel. I'll be 1,000 subscribers. That'll be my victory before the end of the year. I want to accomplish 1,000 subscribers, and I believe I'm going to do it. And my goal is to get as much subscribers as I can, but give my boxing people that are following me the value and the quality that they want, that they need, the truth. Tony Also Knows Boxing. Subscribe to the channel. The unadulterated truth, not like a lot of those boxing content creators out there that speak a lot of lies and just want to create clickbait and just benefit only on the controversy and not give you the quality. So yeah, I'm gonna do a countdown to Puerto Rico for 1,000 subscribers. When I go to Puerto Rico, I'm gonna give you footage that you don't see. I'm not gonna have this background behind me. So yeah, and I'm gonna try to get the interviews with Abisal Cotto, or behind the scenes with Abisal Cotto, Yanquier Rivera, Stephanie Pinheiro, and all those boxers that I interviewed on my channel. You can check out those interviews on the video section. I interview them in Spanish, all the great talents from Puerto Rico, the prospects that are going to be champions in the very near future. So yeah, I'm also promoting Puerto Rican boxing, and I'm not biased, and I try to be fair, you know, with everybody. Guitar, Guns, Cars, Boxing, que le metan una demanda bien buena por poner info falsa en social media. De verdad, mi hermano, estoy contigo. SA Killer, Beast French Gang, ya me subscribe, mi sangre. Gracias, mi hermanito, gracias. Déjame decir tu nombre correcto. SA Killer, Bees, Frenchy Gang 787. Ya me subscribe, mi sangre. Gracias, mi hermanito de Puerto Rico 787. Yo voy allá a Puerto Rico a hacer el countdown de lograr 1,000 suscriptores antes que se termine el año, y voy a ver si te doy una entrevista con uno de los boxeadores en persona. Avisar Coto, Yanquier Rivera o Stephanie Piñero, o ser un behind the scenes en Puerto Rico, enseñarte las áreas bonitas, las playas y todas esas cosas bonitas y la cultura de nosotros. Voy a estar ahí celebrando y hacer el countdown de 1,000 suscriptores antes de que se termine el año de 2025. Vamos a lograrlo. Suscríbete al canal de Tony Also Knows Boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Estás en sintonía en mi canal. Lourdes Rivera 9913. Subriel is the fighter with the most mandatory fights. Dalton Puello, people crazy. Facts. Yes, he has the most mandatory against a lot of undefeated fighters, and they still don't want to give him the credit that he deserves, but he's going to prove a lot of haters wrong. He already proved that he can beat a boxer like in Alberto Puello. So I don't know what Chris Algieri and Paul Maldonado are talking about when they say he's one-dimensional. Their career is one-dimensional because they didn't accomplish anything. Then we talk about Terrence Crawford. You know, he said that the WBC thinks they stripped them off the belt and they think they're better than the WBA, IBF, and WBO. And he said, what makes them think they're better? Because he said that the IBF, WBO, and the WBA accepted what Crawford paid them. And from what I know, what I got over here on my list, the WBO charges 2% of the purse of each fight. The minimum is $500, and the maximum is $250,000 for unified champions, and 3% for standard champions, like regular champions. IBF charges 3% of champions per fight, minimum 2,000, and 3% for challengers, and the minimum 1,500. And the WBC recently, the standard was 3%, but recently they reduced it to 0.6%, which is not even 1%, for Crawford's unified title defense, which rounded up to 300,000 instead of 450,000, I believe, and they stripped him of the belt because he didn't pay the sanctioning fee. And I could understand where he's coming from. He doesn't defend the titles, and I feel like he's just looking out for his best interest as far as his money. And I just feel like he's taking a stance, and I respect that he's taking that stance. But I think he definitely has the right to do that. But the WBC, IBF, WBO, they want to make money, especially if you're going to use their belt in the ring. But it's just the fighter's prerogative. The fighter has the right to say no, that he don't want to pay the sanctioning fee. So the WBC said that they respect that's what Crawford's decision. That's what he wanted to do. But they can't fight any contender or fighter from the WBC. That Terrence Crawford can't fight any fighter from the WBC. He doesn't need them. He already beat Canelo Alvarez, and there's a double standard a lot too. And in the WBA, they charge 3% per fight, but with a cap of $250,000 for lucrative fights. And sometimes their fights, they charge a lot more for major fights, even up to $800,000. So the WBA has done some scandalous things, and all these organizations, there's some corruption involved with them, and it's all about making money and monopolizing on the status of the elite fighters. So I could understand why he would take a stance and say that, but he defended the ring belt that Turki Al-Sheikh owns. So Terrence Crawford said that that's the only real belt, the ring belt, and he defended it. And of course, it makes sense because Turki Al-Sheikh he owns that. He owns the Ring magazine, and he owns the ring belt, and it's all business. And I guess he's choosing to be with Turki Al-Sheikh, and he's saying forget the WBC. It's all good. But subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Yeah, so that's what's going on. And as far as Teofimolopez and Shakur Stevenson, Shakur Stevenson basically, he said that the interviewer I forgot his full name, Cigar Talk. He said that some people say that Teofimolopez is more athletic than you, and then Shakur Stevenson responded and said, I don't know, if you can't beat me in any sport other than boxing, then are you really more athletic than me? I don't think so. And then the Cigar Talk was saying, so you're talking about basketball, football? I said, yeah, basketball, football. He said, I'm from the trenches, man. I played football every day in the hood and basketball in the hood every day. I'm from the trenches. He's from Newark, right? And then the Cigar Talk said, yeah, but as far as what Teofimolopez says, he's from Brooklyn. And then Shakur Stevenson made a face like he ain't from Brooklyn. And then he responded and said, no. He said he's from Florida. He said he may have been born in Brooklyn, but he's not from Brooklyn. He's from Florida. So basically, he's just calling him a capper. He's fake. Teofimolopez, I think he moved out of Brooklyn when he was 5 years old. So he don't qualify as a Brooklynite. He ain't no New Yorker. He may have a little bit of the New York because his father grew up there. But Teofimolopez, he grew up in Florida. He didn't grow up in Brooklyn. He's a liar. And he avoided Subriel Matias so many times. And a lot of people think that Teofimolopez is as great as some people perceive him, when he hasn't been great ever since he lost to Kambosos. So I don't think that he's as great as people say, and I believe that he's training hard for Shakur Stevenson because he knows Shakur Stevenson is an elite fighter. So and he's right. Shakur Stevenson did say that that he said that Teofimolopez trains hard when he knows he's fighting an elite fighter like Shakur Stevenson. When he fought Josh Taylor, Lomachenko, but when he's fighting a regular smuggler, he doesn't train as hard. But when it comes to like fighting somebody like Shakur Stevenson definitely said that he's training hard for him. I believe that, but of course he was going to look good against Arnold Barbosa, a slow, lethargic, predictable fighter that, I think that, he looked like he was supposed to look, but at the same time, he didn't really do anything spectacular. He just dominated him, but he should have stopped him. Damn, so many interruptions. Yeah, give me a second. Yeah, subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. I appreciate everybody tuning into the channel. I must go, and I want to thank everybody that tuned in, and I want to thank all the new people and all the regulars that tune into my channel. Yes, and check out my music. My new album, Mi Patria Linda. Check out my single Unite the Tribes. Is a hip-hop album, and check out The Monumental Truth. It has that song Unite the Tribes, Free Puerto Rico, and talking about what's going on in the situation with the colonization in the island and tax exemptions. And I could speak a lot about it, but I just prefer for you to listen to my music and find out about me through my music and on Spotify. Tony also. And check out on YouTube as well. And you could also purchase the music on all digital platforms. So yeah, subscribe to the channel. And I got a new album called The Essence of Who I Am. It's going to have a famous dance artist on one of my songs that Afro beat song, but I also made a house version so we could do the dance song together with the famous artist. And that's going to be released, God willing, next year. And the album is produced. It's called The Essence of Who I Am. It's dedicated to my mother. But yeah, subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. Also follow me on Facebook. Tony also. You can follow me on TikTok and follow me on Instagram. I'm on all major platforms: Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, Apple Music, iTunes, iHeartRadio. You can check out my music, purchase, or you could download it. You could check it out for free as well. I appreciate everybody. Thanks for tuning into my channel. Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. Peace. Super Matias, January 10th. He's going to